We have some updates in reference to the charging of people who have been arrested in connection with the fatal crash that killed Wilberto Casillas. Mr. Casillas, of course, was riding a Harley-Davidson motorcycle when he was struck by a car. The car had been stolen. There were multiple young people in the car. One was the driver, and we need to talk about him separately. The passengers, we are not able to say as much about for reasons contained in the Juvenile Act, and because the passengers are at this time in the juvenile system. The driver, on the other hand, we can say a little bit more about his situation, not necessarily his entire past, but a little more about his situation, because all homicide cases, and this is a homicide case, originate in adult court, are a matter of public record, and therefore we are not violating Pennsylvania law by saying a little bit more about that. I want to tell you that Yvonne Nelson, who's standing next to me, to my left, and is with our CARES unit. That is the unit that works intensively with families of homicide victims in the first 45 days, has been in very close contact with the family from early this morning on. I've had the ability to speak on 2 occasions today with the mother, and on 1 occasion with with the wife, and on 1 occasion with the daughter of Mr. Wilberto Casillas, to try to give them some updates about what is going on. I can tell you that there remain a lot of questions, but we have gotten sufficient answers to be able to bring charges in connection with this case, and we will inform you as much as the law permits about what it is that we know. I know this family is devastated. I know they need our support. I know we will do everything that we can to provide that support. And I know that we have a situation that must be handled in a way that is appropriate, that is vigorous, and that is just for all the people involved. At this time, I'm going to ask Anthony Voci, who handles the lion's share of homicide matters involving defendants who are juveniles at the time of the homicide. I'm going to ask him to come forward for the narrow purpose of reading to you the charges that are being brought against the driver, whose homicide matter is being initiated as it should be under the law in adult court. And then we will step back and we will do questions and answers. We'll answer as much as we can. We will not answer more than the law permits. Mr. Voci?
Yes. May I have my cell phone? Good afternoon, everybody. The defendant in this case is charged with 11 offenses, 8 of which are felonies. The lead charge is murder in the 3rd degree. He is also charged with accidents involving death as a felony in the 2nd degree, homicide by vehicle, a 3rd degree felony, fleeing and eluding a police officer, also a 3rd degree felony, accidents involving death while not licensed, a felony in the 3rd degree, receiving stolen property as a felony in the 3rd degree, criminal conspiracy as a felony in the 3rd degree, theft as a felony in the 3rd degree, involuntary manslaughter, which is a misdemeanor of the 1st degree, unauthorized use of an automobile, which is a misdemeanor of the 2nd degree, and reckless driving, which is a summary offense under the Motor Vehicle Code.
Attorney Krasner.
All right, if I may, I'm happy to take questions on this topic from all the journalists who are here, but with your permission, I'd like to go in the order that I have so I don't miss anybody. Rosemary Connors, Channel 10 NBC.
DA Krasner,
I think it has already been reported in public that there were police vehicles in proximity at the time of the crash. But beyond that, and prior to having a conversation to speak in detail to the police commissioner, which I intend to do shortly, I have no other comment.
Will you be looking into it, investigating it? Is that fair to say?
We will be looking into all the circumstances that surround this crime. All right, let me see. Alicia Roberts.
District Attorney, we understand the vehicle was stolen. Can you tell us any of the events leading up to that car being stolen at that point in time? Set the scene as to why officers may have been, following this one.
What I can tell you is that verbal information we've received from PPD indicates the vehicle was stolen the morning of the same day that it occurred. As I said before, we have a lot more questions than answers, but certainly we are hoping to get more information than what I just told you. All right, anything else? John Paul, 6 ABC.
If you talk to the commissioner and it turns out the police were chasing this vehicle, does that change anything from your perspective?
All facts are important, all circumstances are important. There's a big difference between what PPD does to enforce its policies and its decision-making about whether or not there is any kind of a violation of policy, and what my office does when we determine whether or not a crime has been committed. There's also a big difference between the legal standard in civil court for some level of accountability and what my office does. My office has a fairly narrow lane, and that is whether or not a crime has been committed, but obviously every fact that we have goes into our evaluation of whether or not a crime has been committed. All right, Isabel Sanchez, Telemundo. Los cargos en español. All right. Mr. Bocci, we're being asked for the charges in Spanish. Do you want to help me with this?
I don't speak Spanish fluently enough to list those charges in Spanish, I can assure you that.
All right, let me see what I can do. Los cargos en este caso en contra el tipo que manejó el auto incluyen el cargo de homicidio en tercer grado y otras felonías, es decir, cargos serios sobre manejar de una moda penal, una moda criminal, una moda ilegal, además de otros cargos menores sobre este asunto terrible. Sí, yo he hablado 2 veces hoy con la familia de Wilberto Casillas, incluso su mujer y una hija, y hemos discutido varias partes de esta situación. Es una situación terrible, es una familia que sufren mucho y han perdido el padre. Okay, Steve Keeley and Kelly Rule. No.
Part question, did you see any of the videos yourself? And what first question would you talk with the police commissioner about in light of what you may have seen on the video?
I can tell you that the video that I have been able to see, and obviously there are 650 people in the office, I'm not the only one, but the video that I have seen is video that was in the news, that was available to the public. Your question about what I would discuss with the commissioner, I would discuss all aspects of this matter with the commissioner, and I would be open to any questions he has for the DA's office or any additional collaborative work that he would like us to do with PPD.
Were you troubled by what you may have seen?
I'm deeply troubled by the devastating consequences of this accident, and I think it is important that we find out all the circumstances that surround it. All right, let me see.
Can I ask a question about the charges? So you said murder to third degree and vehicular homicide. You kind of, because I feel like normally we hear just vehicular homicide, you talk about the murder charge as well. And, that message at them in this case.
Yeah, I'm going to let Mr. Voce address that. I can tell you that, we had a quantity of information earlier in the day. We were able to supplement that because Mr. Voce talked to the right people. He could get a little bit more information than we had been presented, and that's how we eventually came to the conclusion that we had probable cause for third-degree murder. It's not a charge that is brought all the time. However, we heard enough information in this case that we believe there is probable cause for that charge. Mr. Voce?
So third-degree murder requires a high degree of recklessness or gross negligent conduct. And in this particular case, the evidence that we have, at least at this point in time, is that the operator of the motor vehicle slowed but didn't stop at a number of traffic control devices, ran multiple lights before the light where the fatal crash occurred, and at the time, by my review of the video, and I saw video that was uploaded onto an evidence system by the police department, it appeared that that vehicle was traveling fairly well above the posted speed limit of 25 miles an hour. So when you add all those facts together, I think that comes to a level of recklessness which supports a third-degree murder charge.
All right, thank you, Mr. Voce. Nina Barati, KYW.
Hi. I know you can only share so much regarding their juveniles, but we're told the 17-year-old driver, by sources, they have house arrest or perhaps was wearing an ankle monitor. Are you able to comment on that or give us any more information about their record?
Well, I would love to answer all the questions. The complication that exists, and exists for reasons, is that while we are able to talk about the adult charges, the Juvenile Act places some limits on our ability to talk about the history of a juvenile. I can neither confirm nor will I deny that there may have been an ankle monitor on the driver. All right, I know I missed somebody and I'm sorry. Yes, please, I'm sorry.
For just a clarification on the charges, did I hear you, I'm waiting for the air vent here, did you say that all of the juveniles, besides the driver, did you say that all of them were in the juvenile system? Is that what I heard?
What I believe I said, and I think is the best way to phrase it, is that while we can say a little bit more about the driver, because based upon the charges, that case originates in the adult system, and what we are saying is essentially public record. The other defendants are not in the adult system, they're in the juvenile system, and therefore there are some pretty serious limits on what we can say at this time.
And just as a follow-up too, are you going to release the name of the 17-year-old since they're being charged as an adult?
That name will be a matter of public record shortly if it's not already there. At the time of preliminary arraignment, there is a publicly available criminal record that is created. That name will be in there, so it should be available at that time.
Okay, a lot of times afterwards, Dustin sends like a press release that I'm just wondering if that's happening. This is more of a logistical TV question.
Sure, right.
About chatting and all that. So I was asking.
Well, Mr. Slaughter will be sending a press release,
Okay.
and we'll give you as much information as we possibly can. We understand this is a time-sensitive matter for all of you.
Okay, but not the name given to the court for that?
Yeah. You can expect that the name will be included and that you will have it. All right.
I wanted to ask Mr. Voce, not as an ADA, but as a Harley rider for a long time, roughly in the same age area of the victim. What were your thoughts when you saw the impact and the results of that crash? Maybe putting yourself in that scene.
Motorcycling can be dangerous, just the nature of what it is. It's a much smaller vehicle. It doesn't have any safety cage protection around it. And when it comes into contact with things, it usually ends pretty badly.
I guess that's one. We see a lot of the illegal bikes, but to be clear, the driver of this motorcycle is completely legal, registered, all the things. Is that fair to say? That's correct. That's accurate.
I don't have any information to the contrary.
One more thing, in terms of the charges against the other four, I know you can't say, but the police department put out a statement saying 4 of the 5 juveniles involved have been charged with receiving stolen property, conspiracy, evading arrest, unauthorized use of motor vehicle. That's what they've put out to us. Does that,
Yeah, we're not going to comment on anything as it relates to the juvenile justice system because we believe the Act prevents that.
If you'll just give us one moment, we may be able to give you the name of the driver.
We are able to provide the name of the driver. The driver of the vehicle is Bryce Neely. Last name is spelled Neely. He is was born in December of 2006, making him approximately 17 and a half years old.
B-R-Y-C-E, B-R-I-C-E?
B-R-Y-C-E, I believe.
N-E-E-L-Y?
I believe.
All right, thank you very much. We appreciate your patience.